I just got back from the Influencer Summit at Las Vegas, and I'm so excited to tell you guys all about it. I entered the summit feeling really nervous about the future of this game, and I left the summit feeling more hopeful than I ever have been before. The summit overall was just an opportunity for content creators and universes to come together and provide each other with feedback and communication. For UVS Games, how can they better support us as content creators? For content creators, what kind of content does UVS Games want to see us making? What do they think that there's a need for in the content creation space? We also got to see a lot of sneak peeks of upcoming sets, what went into the thinking for the art of the set, the design of the sets. A lot of it especially focused on the upcoming Attack on Titan set dropping in August. I obviously can't tell you guys everything that I learned. They had us sign non-disclosure agreements before we went. They had us, during the summit, put our phones in these little bags so that we couldn't record or take pictures of any of the sneak peeks that we were seeing. But I'm going to try and tell you guys as much as I possibly can. Before I get into what actually happened at the summit, though, let me kind of lay the foundation on how I was feeling beforehand. Because going into the summit, I was feeling more nervous and worried about the future of this game than maybe ever before. And a lot of this was due to rumors. Unsubstantiated rumors from the community, basically saying that Attack on Titan was going to make major changes to the game and that old heads would not like it. And these rumors kind of run rampant, and then you just start to imagine worse and worse things. Of course, then we saw the demo decks for Attack on Titan. The cards only had one symbol. The characters only had two symbols. The cards were very, very basic, and that just made us worry even more. Then we had these articles come from Bill Stark, where he talked about how Universus has a very bad problem of gaining new players and retaining those new players due, at least in part, to the mental load that the game requires. And while nobody was really arguing with that, we were all worried about what the solution would be. You know, could the solution to this problem actually end up being worse than the problem? And so those articles plus the rumors kind of get everybody thinking about the worst of the worst instead of what could go right. We're all worried about what could go wrong. These rumors had kind of gotten to me so much to the point that I texted Paul and said, hey, one of the owners of the game, I said, I'm hearing all these rumors. Can you help me feel better? You know, is there truth to these rumors? And he said, there's definitely going to be some changes with Attack on Titan, but I think you're going to really like them. Let's 10x our player base, 10x your viewership. You have nothing to be worried about. Think about your experience as a beginner. It was probably very difficult to learn the game. We're trying to help that become better in the future. And, you know, he's right. It did take me a long time to learn the game as a beginner. Took me probably 100 games of Universus before I started to truly feel comfortable with the game. So he was definitely right about that. We're all just worried about, we love this game so much that we don't want to see major change happen to it. You know, we feel very protective of the game because of how much we love it. And that's how I felt going into it. And a lot of the other creators felt that way as well. We were entering this summit ready to be very, very critical if we needed to be. I don't think any of the creators were going to shy away from critical feedback if we didn't like what we saw. We were all there to be 100% honest, and we wanted to see the best for the game. So I don't think I was alone in being nervous entering this summit. Bill's articles, yeah, I think we all kind of agreed with the mental load aspect, but we were just kind of worried. We know that Bill comes from a Magic the Gathering background and a long history of other trading card games, but not necessarily Universus. I think he's made a lot of good decisions since he's been with Universus. I think as soon as he came, we immediately started getting better communication. We started getting monthly ban and errata updates as opposed to just random updates to the ban and errata list. So a lot of good changes were immediately made when he came. But because he doesn't have that long Universus background, a lot of us were feeling, you know, we're not ready to 100% trust him, especially when he says that there's a very bad thing going on in our game of getting new players and retaining new players. Of course, Universus players, you know, we're like, hey, our game is good. We love our game. don't tell us there's a very bad thing going on here with the game. And so I would say there was a low degree of trust there from the player base as a whole, maybe myself included there. So that's how I felt going in. Sorry, I have my notes over here, so you'll see me kind of reading my notes. I don't want to miss anything. So that's how I felt going in. Very, very nervous. I don't want to see the game that I love change. In all honesty, I was thinking if they fundamentally change the game in Attack on Titan to where it doesn't feel like universes, I might take a hiatus from the game. You know, I might just take a couple sets off. Maybe I'll just stop making content. I'll stop playing competitively for a little bit. And then later on, I'll come back. You know, I'm positive that if feedback is not good, that changes will be made. Maybe any changes that did happen could just stick with Attack on Titan Spotlight and not to the game as a whole. That's how I felt coming in. I was fully ready to say, I'm going to take a hiatus for a little bit. And that's crazy because I have been obsessed with this game for the last 2 years now, especially in the last year. I feel very, very called to help foster a awesome competitive community. You know, I got the competitive team. We're trying to run competitive events. I try to make content that's almost exclusively for competitive players in this game. Like fostering a really healthy competitive scene is very, very important to me. So the rumors had got to me to the point where it was like, you know, even though I love Attack on Titan as an IP, maybe I just take a break from this set for a little bit. So yeah, me and other content creators, if we didn't like what we saw, we were ready to be critical. Nobody was going there ready to just kiss the ring and say, yes, we love it. Anything you say, we love. You know, nobody was there just to be yes men and say that we loved everything. So now I'll jump into the summit itself. On Friday, I got to fly out. A lot of my weekend this weekend was just travel. A lot of Friday was just traveling to Vegas, and then Sunday was traveling back. Although I had it way better than other creators. For example, Brett and Richard from UK Versus came all the way from England. And so their weekend was like 75% travel, 25% summit. So while the summit was awesome, a lot of this weekend was simply waiting around in airports, you know, for my connecting flight. Lubbock to Las Vegas does not have many straight flights. So I had to go through Phoenix or go through Dallas, you know, and catch a connecting flight. I went through Dallas to get there. I met up with Brett and Richard. We were on the same flight going to Las Vegas. When we got to Las Vegas, we went and grabbed some In-N-Out Burger, said hi to Tam, who was already there. Tam went out to dinner, I think, with Tim from Game Design. And then later on, we all went to the hotel lobby and we just started jamming games of Universes. I brought both my Kurama deck and my Jin deck. And we just jammed games all night pretty much. Content creators slowly started to come to the hotel and then they would just join in on jamming games, or we would talk about what we wanted to see. What were the questions that we were going to ask? Everybody had different questions. Everybody had different concerns about the game. I think I would describe the atmosphere of Friday as nervous. All content creators were in general nervous about where the game was and where the game is going. I don't think anybody just arrived at the summit completely satisfied. Although we all left feeling really, really hopeful. But just the attitude coming in Friday night was kind of like 20% excitement, kind of like 80% nervousness. So we just jammed games all night. It was a great night. Let's see. The content creators that showed up were Dan from Main Deck, Brett and Richard from UK Versus, Richard from The Chamber, Kevin from My Hero Meta, Ty from Ty's House of Cards, Tam from, well, everybody knows Tam Cardwell. He's probably the biggest content creator in the game. And then Tim Keefe, also known as Katonis or Satonis. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but he has a great Universes channel where he goes over all the updated news. He obviously won the first major regional, so he's already got his Worlds ticket. Probably one of the top 5 players in the game, no question, but also makes a lot of content and interacts with everybody a lot on Discord. I thought it was a pretty good group. There were definitely some content creators that I felt were excluded that should have been invited. My friend Sam Tate from Ace Maneuvers, Chris and Matt from Universus Academy, the folks at Undefeated at Locals. There were a lot of content creators where I was like, hey, why are they missing? And ultimately, I don't know why some creators got an invite and other creators didn't. That wasn't up to me at all. I was appreciative to get an invite myself, and I thought that between the 9 of us creators that were there, we had a pretty good group, and we did a pretty good job, I think, at voicing concerns for the content creator community as a whole. Okay, so that was Friday. Saturday was just all day the summit. Started at 9 a.m. and went until about 4 p.m. And then we all went and got dinner at a Brazilian steakhouse called I'm going to butcher it. It's Fogo de Chao. It's also the same steakhouse that Universus took us out for Worlds. So this is pretty much now just the restaurant of the official Universus restaurant. And it is awesome. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So Saturday, I wake up early. I go on a morning walk outside, just kind of to wake up my mind and get ready. The summit starts at 9 a.m. The first thing we do is choose our seats. They've already got all of our seats lined up, and each seat has a different alternate art Universus character. I chose the seat that had the alternate art Lady Nagant because I did not pull one from my boxes, and I plan on playing Lady Nagant at a local level. And we each got these backpacks with all sorts of really cool merchandise inside. I think they gave us a box of Girl Power, one of every Challenger deck that's been released this year. We got a cool play mat, My Hero play mat. We got a cool Godzilla play mat. They gave us a Universus deck box, a Universus branded backpack where everything was packed inside. And then the coolest thing of all, to me at least, was we got given Godzilla Challenger decks, and we were told that as soon as we got back, we could immediately film Godzilla Challenger deck opening. So I'll probably be doing that here in the next couple days. But when I saw that we were going to get swag and merchandise when we first got there, I thought it would be a hat or a t-shirt, something pretty basic. But they went above and beyond, and just the entire summit was above and beyond, and really, really helped me, at least as a creator, feel valued and seen from the company, which I think is all we can ask for as content creators, is to feel heard from Universus. And I definitely felt heard. I felt like we had really good two-way communication all day. So Summit starts out with Paul, and he shares kind of a brief history of the game up to this point, and specifically of the community. I was very impressed with how much history of the game Paul knows. It seemed like he had read all of the past forums that were done. The game's been around since 2006. So back in those days on the internet, it was all online forums instead of on Discord, Facebook, X, and social media like today. But it felt like Paul had read all of those, had a really good understanding of the evolution of this game's community, and kind of just did an intro to the summit and everything. That was the first presentation. Second presentation was Bill Stark talking to us about game design. And it wasn't just Bill from Universus. He also had one of the lead game designers, Tim, there as well. So to me, it was kind of this cool. I thought Bill did an excellent job on his presentation. I thought he was really down to earth with us the entire weekend. I was really, really impressed with him. It felt like Bill had a solid grasp of the vision of the game and where he wanted design to go. And he felt really, really energetic. And it was kind of this cool pairing of Bill has this vision of where the game should go. And then we have the game designers, who most of our game designers have been playing this game for years and years and years. There are a lot of past world champions. And they just have thousands upon thousands of hours of experience designing this game. And so they have all of the knowledge of the game to a very granular level. Bill, of course, comes from a background of other trading card games. And so he doesn't really have that granular level of understanding about the game that someone who has played this game for thousands of hours, designed cards for thousands of hours has. And I thought it was a cool pairing. You have the the person who sees the forest, and then you have the people who see the trees, right? I thought it was a good thing, not a bad thing. I think that Bill having a background outside of Universes actually might be a feature and not a bug. Basically, like, good innovation comes from someone coming to the game with a fresh vision. The more and more entrenched you get into something, the more you get into the habit of just doing the ways they've always been done. And so it can be good to get new eyes from someone very, very experienced in other games coming into Universes. But at the same time, Bill has the benefit of having this team of designers with thousands of hours of experience behind him. And I thought that was a good pairing. It was like Bill was able to answer almost all questions, but if something was a really, really granular level rules question, Tim was there to also help answer. And Tim did say that we're getting I guess I can't actually say that. But let me just say that we got to see a lot of Attack on Titan coming up in August, of course. And Bill kind of went into detail on each of the changes and updates coming with Attack on Titan and why those changes or updates were made. And then Zoe followed up on the creative side of things. She's the head of the creative side of Universes and the artwork. And she actually passed out cards to us. I probably got to see 50 to 60 different Attack on Titan cards. I was trying to read all of them and memorize them. Of course, now I can hardly remember any of them other than some that made a really, really big impression on me. But that's basically how it went. Like, Bill first introduced things, and then we actually got to handle cards later on with Zoe, who also talked about the artwork of the cards themselves. But let me tell you what I can tell you about the design of Attack on Titan and everything I can tell you about the mechanics. Let me see. I made a list here. I'm going to be really careful with what I say here. First off, let me say that Attack on Titan feels like Attack on Titan. The world of Attack on Titan is one in which humanity is living behind these walls, and you have massive titans that kill everybody who leaves the walls. Because of that, there's limited resources in Attack on Titan. Life is very transitory. In the very first episode, we see some major characters die in gruesome ways. A lot of characters throughout the series of Attack on Titan die in gruesome ways. So life is very transitory. We have these massive monsters, these massive titans. It's kind of a brutal world, limited resources. And Attack on Titan card game feels like that. In fact, it was kind of funny because later on they gave us like a little sneak peek of Star Trek Lower Decks. And that just feels so different than Attack on Titan, right? And game design does a great job of really bringing the flavor of the show to the cards themselves. Because seeing the Attack on Titan cards was like, yeah, this is Attack on Titan. So they really knocked it out of the park with that. Part of that was that the entire team at Universes bought the manga. They said it was a huge expense, but they felt that it was important that every single person who worked on Attack on Titan basically got the manga and read the entire manga for Attack on Titan, because this set follows the manga of Attack on Titan and not necessarily the anime. And so we're going to see that in the artwork, that this is coming from the manga and it's not like anime screenshots. So they all read the entire manga for Attack on Titan, and they really did their homework on the set, and it definitely showed in the design. Next up, the design. The set is better for beginners. There's a lot of changes and updates that they made that make this set better for beginners. But at the same time, it felt more complex. And that's it's kind of hard to say. Like, hey, you can have your cake and eat it too. The game is better for beginners with Attack on Titan, and it felt more complex than ever. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting gameplay in this set. I don't think any of that was really lost. However, I do think beginners are going to have an easier time getting their feet underneath them for the game. Okay, and then with the updates coming, let me just put it this way. I think there's two changes coming that are going to be divisive in the community. There's one change that's coming that I think the community will be kind of indifferent towards. Hey, let's see how this actually plays before we make a decision. I think most people will be pretty indifferent on it. And then there's a lot of changes where I think they'll just get unanimous praise. Everybody will be very, very happy. So that's kind of where I'm at. A lot of these things are just like, oh, that is obviously a great thing. Okay, that's a thing, and one of the changes. And then there's two that are going to be pretty divisive. But I think that about 80% of the current player base is going to really get behind them. 20% might not like the changes and stay not liking the changes. And that might lead to like maybe 10% of the current player base stops playing because they don't like what happens. But I think it's going to lead to a huge growth in new players. And I think Attack on Titan is going to be a very, very good thing for the game and is going to really expand our player base. So all in all, I think it's going to be a net positive. Obviously, everybody's not going to be on board with every single thing that happens. I'll speak to my experience there and the experience of the other content creators. For example, on one of the things that was shown to us, my immediate reaction was, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're doing this. This is going to ruin everything. What is this? And then it got explained and how it actually worked got explained. And then I was thinking, why hasn't this game always been this way? This just makes sense. Why didn't we do this in the beginning? So it was like within 2 minutes, I went from, I can't believe this is happening to, why wasn't this always happening before? And I really, really liked the way that they did it. One of the other changes I was really excited when I first saw, made intuitive sense to me, and I could see why they were doing it. The more I've thought about it, I'm not 100% on board with it. I think they could change how they're doing it a little bit in future sets. And then some of the other things I have some worries about, but I'm mostly on board with. So I walk away from the summit feeling like I'm on board for 80% of this. And I'm definitely going to give it a shot. Like I went in thinking I might take a hiatus from Attack on Titan. I'm leaving saying I need to like scroll away money, save some money because I need to buy 2 cases of this. I am so excited for this game. I'm almost more excited for Attack on Titan Spotlight than I am for how Attack on Titan is going to change standard. And I never, ever in a million years thought I would actually say that. But if it's done really well, then Attack on Titan Spotlight is going to be a banger. Another thing about design for Attack on Titan is that ever since I've been a player, I joined in set 2 of My Hero Academia. Ever since then, the strategy in the game has been play a string of 4 difficulty attacks, slam cheap stats on them, either through your character or foundations, and ignore progressive difficulty. And that's how you win. We don't play 5 difficulty attacks. They're too expensive. We don't play 3 difficulty attacks. They don't do enough to justify a card in hand. So, we have a lot of very, very pushed 4 difficulty attacks. We have a lot of ways to ignore progressive. And then we have a lot of ways to slam cheap stats on those. So play cheap attacks, slam cheap stats. And that's kind of been the strategy since My Hero Academia. And I feel like with Attack on Titan, that is going to change. At least in Attack on Titan Spotlight. Standard might stay mostly the same because we just have such a big pool of standard that's going to take a long time to make any changes really to standard in a meaningful way. But at least in Attack on Titan Spotlight, I'm not sure if this strategy is going to be slam 4 difficulty attacks, add cheap stats on them, and just, ignore progressive difficulty, play 6 or 7. That could end up being the strategy. Who knows? We didn't get to actually play any games. I didn't get to read every single card in the set, but it felt like the design team was making a big push to having other strategies be viable. So that's as much as I'll say on that. I probably said a little too much there as it was. Mostly we got to see secret rares, ultra rares, and characters. Didn't see a lot of the commons and uncommons in the set, at least to my memory. Maybe it's just because they weren't as memorable. I can recall seeing like 3 or 4 common, uncommon foundation cards. Most of those were like, yeah, that's a nice foundation, but it's not anything like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, they were pretty basic. I do remember one uncommon attack that I thought was like absolutely cracked when I first saw it. Like I thought it was like game breaking. the more I'm thinking about it, it's like not nearly as good as I was first imagining. That kind of happens a lot when you first see a card. You're like, oh my gosh, how did they print this card? And then the more you think about it, it's like, actually, you'd probably still be playing other cards. But that was good news to see an uncommon attack that I thought had a pretty good power level. So hopefully it's not just like, well, anyway, that's what I'll say there. The secret rares blew me away. The ultra, the characters, I can remember several. What I'll say about the characters is that they're very, very strong. I think the power level is going up. Okay, that's as much as I'll say about that. I will probably buy 2 cases of Attack on Titan. That's where I'm at. I would encourage you to start saving money for Attack on Titan. As we see these reveals, I expect you'll be as blown away as I was and the other content creators were at the summit. Some current standard characters will get much worse. Some will get much better. I'll leave that to you to decipher what exactly that means. My biggest emotion after the game design section of the summit was simply one of overwhelming relief. Just that, hey, UVS isn't going anywhere. We have a game. UVS is still UVS. Some things are changing, but the game itself is still here. You're still going to feel like you're playing Universus. And I'm willing to give all of this a shot. One other cool thing they said is that designers are already working on like 2026 and 2027. That most of 2025, from a product standpoint and design standpoint, has already been planned out. So, Universus is way ahead of just where we are this year. It's not like they only have the 2 Attack on Titan sets and then not much after that. No, they've got like all of next year already planned out. I was very impressed by that and how forward-thinking Universus is. And they did acknowledge that, like they're getting better at, like in the past, Universus was kind of flying by the seat of its pants, like set to set, always running behind. And so they're doing a really good job in being prepared at a much earlier time, being like a year and a half out on products. But they did acknowledge that they're behind in other aspects, right? Like marketing, organized play, and other areas of the game are not where they need to be. So while some parts are doing really well, other areas, they're still working on really improving. So after that, we got to actually see the cards, and Zoe came and talked to us about the art on the cards. I thought that Zoe stole the show for the summit. Zoe's enthusiasm was unparalleled. You could tell, like, she loves her job. It was just obvious, and her energy was infectious. She has poured hours and hours and hours of work and love into this set. And it was impressive. Very, very infectious energy. She actually reminded me of Hange from Attack on Titan. Probably my favorite character in all of Attack on Titan. My top 3 characters in Attack on Titan would go Hange, number 1. Number 2 would be Jean. And number 3 would be Sasha. I think that would be my top 3. But she reminded me of Hange. Just like Hange is this like super enthusiastic person who is excited about researching the Titans. She's always trying to work with Eren and find out more about the outside world. She's kind of over the top in her enthusiasm. And when I actually looked up Hange, I realized that Hange is also named Zoe. So I thought that was kind of funny that Zoe reminded me of this character who's also named Zoe. So the entire team read the Attack on Titan manga. Something really interesting that Zoe pointed out to us is that the early manga art is very, very different from the late manga art. Like, as the author put out more of the manga, he got better and better and better at the drawings and the manga itself. So the early manga art, represented a little bit of a challenge for Zoe and the creative team to put together to really make these cards look incredible. And that was something I was worried about going in, is that how would manga look on the cards? Instead of doing the anime, doing the manga, and how would that pay off? I think they did an awesome job. The cards, to me, are the best looking Universus cards we've ever had. And I mean that 100%. The chromes and alternate arts are the most hype cards I've ever seen. The Chrome Rares for Attack on Titan are like, I have to have this card. You'll see what I'm saying when they show it out. So I think they knocked it out of the park. Seeing the cards, hearing Zoe talk about all the work that went into the art of the cards just kind of stole the show for me. After that, we got to talk with Mike, who is the head of sales. That was a great presentation. There's not too much to say here, though, about sales. Then we had a discussion on content creation, on how UVS Games could help us as content creators. I told them that for me personally, the number one thing they could do is give me competitive data. I make content for competitive players and to celebrate competitive players and to foster a competitive community. I need data. It's not enough just to have regional data when we only have a regional once every 3 months. That's just not enough. Like, I need local qualifier and local championship data. We shouldn't have a championship point leaderboard that has to be community made. That should be something you see on the UGN. I want to see what are the characters. I want to see a character breakdown of how they're doing at local qualifiers. Like, this character has gone 21 wins, 10 ties, 8 losses over this season in local qualifiers. I want to see a character breakdown like that. I think that would be really easy to do since players can attach deck lists now on the UGN from the official deck builder. I think that should be a requirement for local qualifiers and local championships to attach your deck list. And that way we can mine that data, have like this character leaderboard. I should be able to see like, holy crap, somebody is crushing it with Gunhead. You know, somebody went undefeated at Gunhead. I'm going to go and track down that list and go check out what the secret sauce is for Gunhead, right? I need competitive data. And it feels like with a little bit of work on the UGN that we could get that competitive data. Now, they pushed back a little bit that stores might not like requiring players to attach deck lists. You know, that makes things take a little longer on the store side of things. People might attach fake lists. I don't know. There was a little bit of pushback there, but all in all, I just need data. I need competitive data. UVS Games told us as content creators that they wanted to see more short form content. They felt like there was a lot of content out there that was 30 plus minutes, you know, an hour long. But where were the YouTube shorts, the TikToks, the 5-minute videos, you know, more short form content. I think Sam's been knocking that out of the park. Ace Maneuvers recently has been doing these like 1-minute little maneuver videos. I think that's been really good short form content, but that was something that they wanted to see. We had a lot more feedback back and forth, but those were the two main things that I focus on. Then we went to dinner at Fogo de Chao. I ate way too much. That would be a vast understatement. I ate so much, I thought I was going to be sick. Okay, I sat next to Bill and Tim from Design and Brett from UK Versus. It was a great time. You know, Bill was really down to earth. He was legit fun to talk with. I can't say enough about how much I was impressed by the people at UVS Games. Mike, Zoe, Bill, Tim, Paul, everybody, they just did a really fantastic job. I went in feeling less than 100% trust with Bill and the game design team. And I leave feeling very, very trusting of where they're going and that they have the vision of this game. And that's part of what made this summit so great, is that it was a time to really come together and communicate. And communication was something that we had been lacking for the past several months, right? Things had been happening in the dark. Content creators weren't told. Why did we get left out of Girl Power reveals? What was going on exactly with the content creator program? Not as many creators are getting boxes. Like communication had kind of gone dark, and this summit really helped to reestablish that and really helped to increase my faith and trust in the Universes team. After dinner, we filmed a content collaborator instant reaction where we talked about everything. And so that video won't come out for a few months whenever the non-disclosure agreement is lifted. Then after that, I went out, it's Vegas. I went out on plates in Texas Hold'em and had a good time there. The next morning, we went out for breakfast. Everybody discussed all that we had seen, what we were going to kind of do for content to cover the summit. and kind of coordinate with each other, and then went back home. So that was my experience at the summit. I had a great time. It felt very, what would I say, business-like for the summit. Like, I had a great time jamming games on Friday. Of course, I went out and played some poker Saturday night. We went out to dinner that night. So, we went out to, me, Brett, and Richard went out to In-N-Out Friday night. Went out to breakfast all together. Like, it was a lot of fun, but overall it felt very businesslike, that we were there to communicate with Universus about what we could do to push this game forward and push content creation for the game forward. So it felt like a business trip, in a sense, more than just a fun and games trip. Right. So that's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I tried to say as much as I possibly could without giving too much away. But yeah, we got to see some things coming in 2025. They told us about one IP entering the game that made my jaw drop. Just made me super excited. Partly because I had just watched the show recently. And I thought, man, it would be incredible if Universus got this IP. And then they said they were getting it. That was awesome. We got to see some previews of like some promo characters coming soon, similar to Fresh Cut Grass and Anya, that were an IP that I never thought Universus would get. That's as much as I'll say there. Got to see some other sneak peeks. For me, coming in, the biggest thing was I'm simply nervous about Attack on Titan, and leaving, I'm feeling really excited about Attack on Titan. And so I'll just say that I assume that all this information is going to come out very quickly to the player base. I know Bill's going to be continuing his Thursday articles, and it's going to be jumping into Attack on Titan soon. So I'll just say that keep an open heart and mind. Yes, there's going to be some changes. Yes, there's going to be some updates, but it's better for the game. It's better for new players. And if you really think on it, a lot of this is very, very good for the game. So don't, like doomers are going to find things to doom about. People who are always shouting and getting mad about things, they're going to have stuff they get mad about. Ignore them. The vast majority of us are going to be very, very excited and having a great time playing this set. That's where I fall. I feel just so relieved. Like, we have a game. We still have a game. And the future is bright for Universus. I think locals are going to be popping again in a big, big way. So that's everything I have. Let me know what you think about my report here on the summit. Any additional questions that you have, drop them in the comments. If I can answer them, I will answer them as much as I can. All right. Thanks, guys. I will see you guys next time. I got a Godzilla opening coming soon. I'm also going to be doing talking about Godzilla as a whole and giving my snap grades and analysis. I'm also going to be doing a tier list. And then this Saturday, I've got Godzilla X Girl Power Tournament. So I've probably got like 5 or 6 videos coming out this week. There's a lot to come. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you next time.